My dad was the stage manager here and Mum worked here as well. We had a unique experience of living on the roof of the Colston Hall in a flat. One of my fondest memories of seeing groups here was the Beatles. Prior to their gig on the evening, I had the unique experience of entertaining Ringo Starr in the green room with our Electrics. So I guess that was quite a unique memory I should take with me.
My first memory of coming to Colston Hall, it was coming to watch a comedy. It was a Jamaican comedy called Oliver. It was funny. I didn't really understand all of the humour because I was only like 15 and a lot of it was adult humour.
I had a go-kart which I would race around the circuit here. I was known as the Colston Hall Babe, and my birth certificate bears that out by the address of the little theatre as it was in those days, the Lantern as it is now.
My name is Miriam and I play cello, piano and just started the banjo. My first memory of coming to the Colston Hall was when we did primary school concerts, and there were loads of children in all the seats singing songs, and we sang songs like Reach for the Stars.
In '63 I was in here almost pretty constantly really, because it was the centre of music. This is where you went to see the big American stars and music of all kinds really.
I met this young lady, very nice young lady, and we started going out together. And I found out that she was a member of Bristol Choral Society. And one of the conditions of our friendship was that I should at least attempt to join the choral society as well.
An exaggeration.
Or else.
I don't think I can actually remember my first memory of visiting Colston Hall. My early memory was seeing wrestling here. It was full of old ladies, I guess. It was really good fun. Very much part of this hall, the old schoolness of it, you know, having wrestling.
My first memory of the Colston Hall was quite early in the 50s when I caught acts like Gene Vincent, Marty Watt and all these shows. And that sowed the seeds for me to say, hey, hang on, these are kind of working class kids. These guys are living their dream. It was then I sort of thought to myself, I think I'd like to do that. I came to see Roy Orbison on this very trip over it. And it was like this magical figure that just come from nowhere, you know. And the reception was absolutely crazy in here, you know. I think he had like 6 encores or something. 6 weeks later, I was booked by Pat Vince for one of the group's galore shows. And I did a little set and I finished with 4 old Roy Orbison songs. And the reaction was the same. And so here was I, this spotty-faced kiddie, you know, with my little rock and roll band, get to experience the very thing I witnessed just those weeks before.
I organised a trip from the school that I went to in the middle of Gloucestershire, filled a coach with all my mates, and we came down to see the Beatles concert.
My mum bought my brother and myself tickets to come and see the Beatles in the early 1960s, I think.
The place was bouncing, literally. You couldn't hear yourself think. I remember the girl next to me gave me a forearm smash in my ear when they came on stage.
It was all about screaming. You were just one of thousands of young people screaming and enjoying it.
I hadn't realised that the Beatles had played here, you know, but I don't think Dylan's ever played here, has he? He has. Has he? Oh no, he did that film in the 80s, or was that the Hippodrome? God, did he? Has he really played here? I didn't know that.
The international series has given me immense pleasure over a long period of years now. quite often it's music I wouldn't necessarily know. So it's opening up a totally new world. And obviously it's absolutely top-notch performers. And sometimes the music I find deeply moving. Sometimes I think, well, that's interesting, but not necessarily my cup of tea.
Adhesive Live was a show that was put on at the Colston Hall in 2013 that was kind of a blend between modern underground music and orchestral sounds, you know. I came out through that door over there and my mum and my nan was up there. My nan had never seen me perform before at this point. I had one of my tracks and there was backing vocalists and live orchestra, and it really brought the song alive. I felt like everything that I've done to this point had been so worth it.
"58 years later, we're still involved with the Colston Hall and love the place dearly. Know it inside out like the back of our hands. The people here are wonderful and the hall itself is magnificent."
Sometimes you're doing the most remarkable, moving music, and it's brilliant to be standing there knowing that my mother is watching somewhere. She used to say, this is a slightly odd thing to say, but she used to say, "That ruddy girl, her voice could fill the Colston Hall." And I know that she would be delighted to think that I am singing with the choir.
I think if it wasn't for the early stages, performing here and also helping people here, that was probably more important. If it wasn't for that, then I probably would have just looked like a fish out of water on stage, you know what I mean? It would have took me a lot longer to understand what I needed to do.
It's also a platform for young musicians, young singers, young actors, anything, to experience what we've been very lucky to experience and perform to 2,000 plus in this very hall so many times. I hope the Colston Hall retains that heritage, builds upon it, because it's so, so important.
If you're playing on the same stage as orchestras like the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, it just feels really amazing that two orchestras, and one's really famous and one's just like a school orchestra, can play in the same place. Lots of places don't have big music halls, and I just feel really lucky to be able to play here.